PVM is the best way to skill. And I know that sounds very strange, but let's be honest. If you want the best rates for skilling supplies, you go to the best new boss and you gain a lot of them at an alarming rate. Is that the way to do it, or should the supplies come from skilling? Let's talk about it. Yo, what's going on guys? My name's Chevalric and today we're going to be talking about, I guess, PVM versus skilling and where the supplies should really be coming from. Should they be coming from PVM like they are right now? Because, let's be honest, as I said in the intro, the best way to get all these supplies, besides ores, because you only get stone spirits, is PVM. And skilling really cannot really compete, besides maybe rune crafting, and there's probably another skill, but the only one I can really think about is rune crafting. And should that be the case? And I thought it would be interesting to look at the upsides if it come from PVM and or skilling, and the downsides of it, because there's something to be said for both sides. And it's a discussion I just see a lot, whether there's a new boss release or just in general a new anything relating to skilling. It's like, oh well, it's not as good as this boss, or well, this boss drops this, so it is now devaluing something else. And I think it would be an interesting video, so if you have an opinion, join in with the comment section down below. I'm very curious to see what you guys think. Do you think it should be coming from PVM this much? Do you think it should be coming from skilling? Do you think it should be equal? Do you think skilling should be slightly more, slightly less? Like, let me know. I'm generally very curious, and try to give me some argumentation as well, because I'm always very curious to see what you guys think. Subscribe if you're new, and let's just get into it. I think I said like the video, but if you didn't, like the video. I think there are two sides, as I said. I think there's a side that says, like, look, skilling should be the main source for skilling supplies. Because otherwise, what is the point of skilling besides getting a 99 for your max cape, or, you know, gaining levels for skills, for quests or whatever. And I see that. I generally see that argument. Like, it's a really strong argument, because it is really true. If there's no reason for you to skill, whether that's money making or because you need those supplies for a different skill, then why would you do it? Besides, obviously, if you want to go for a max cape or you need a quest requirement done, why would you go woodcut if you don't gain anything from it? And I think that is like the biggest thing within RuneScape, and I know I've mentioned it in quite a lot of videos, is reward. Like, there always needs to be a reward, whether that's experience, whether that's an unlock from, you know, something that you can do because of the skill, or because of like a quest you can do because of certain skill, or GP. Those are the three main staples of what you need to make something quote-unquote relevant. And obviously I made a video earlier this week about if, you know, all the content should be revived, and, you know, what they should do with irrelevant content. And this really is kind of a follow-up with it, is skilling right now is not irrelevant. I'm not going to say it. Like, skilling is still worth it. I mean, there are a lot of skilling methods right now that make a lot of money. I mean, archaeology, like the just digging up the regular, you know, supplies that you need to fix the relics or the artifacts or whatever they're called, is good money. Crafting those new arrows is also still really good money. And there are many, many methods to do when it comes to skilling that are great money to still do. And, you know, it's always been there. And skilling is in that sense in a good place, but, you know, it's not the best place to gather your supplies. There's no point in mining gem rocks when you can go to Arc Laser and get maybe like 2,000 Dragonstones an hour, whereas you can only get maybe, you know, the relevant, like half the experience from the gem rocks that you can mine. And the same goes for woodcutting. Why would I woodcut magic locks? I think you can cut like 200 an hour or 250 an hour, when I can go to, I don't know, Croesus or any other boss. Like, when I did my 200 Croesus skills and I sold my loot tab, I had over 12k supplies. And I mean, I think overall, if I would, that would be like 20 hours of Croesus, I would have about 4k, so like a third of that if I would have woodcutted it just in a regular way. And that is a bit of an issue to a certain extent, because, you know, skilling just, there's no point into doing it, as I said, because, you know, either experience for unlocking quests or to, you know, get your max cape, because woodcutting or even mining to a certain extent is just, besides experience, not really worth it. And I think there's something to be said from both sides. Obviously, you want it to be worth it. You want people to be mining and woodcutting and whatever other gathering skills to be putting those supplies into the game. And you can either fix that by, you know, increasing the rates of, you know, woodcutting, or making it so that if you woodcut, you know, get 2 or you get 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 every single time, or make it stack, or do something about it. Because right now, there's no point. And I think it is good that there's this many supplies coming into the game, and that's probably a very controversial opinion, and I'm probably going to get a lot of angry comments about it, but I think that is a good part about it coming from PVM. However, I think it should also be shared a little bit more between PVM and skilling, because it is good that there's so many herbs coming from PVM, or logs, or whatever supplies are coming from there, because it makes it so that things like herb lore, things like crafting, things like the Bible skills are genuinely attainable for, you know, the casual regular player. I think that is really good. Overloads are no longer that expensive anymore, but they're more pivotal than ever. They're really, really pivotal for endgame content, of course, but just in general, if you want to learn how to boss, an overload is really going to help you. The difference is there. For example, if I AFK Abyssal Lords, which you will probably see in the gameplay behind you right on the screen right now, I need Animate Dead and an overload. Even if I just have Animate Dead without an overload, I'll be getting slapped up. That is how powerful it is. And with herb being a lot cheaper than it was, because a lot of herbs are a lot cheaper than they were, because the amount that come in through mainly Croesus and other bosses is great. It's good. It makes it so that it is an attainable thing for many, many, many players. And also makes it so PVM, in turn, will be more attainable for many, many players, because they have the supplies to make the overload and other things, and trim masterwork or whatever they want to be making. I mean, I would just buy my trim masterwork, but that's me being lazy. But there's also a downside from it. As I mentioned, if it just comes from PVM, why would you skill for it? And I think that kind of comes into like a solution that I really want to be giving for it, is make it so that it's either equal or that it's just slightly better to PVM than to skill, but it doesn't really matter that much, so to say. So like skilling will get 80% compared to PVM's 100%, because I think the amount of supplies that are in the game are not necessarily the issue. Because as I said, it makes it so other content becomes more accessible to more players, and the more content is accessible for more players, that's good for Jagex, because more people interact with endgame content, which obviously they prefer to release, I suppose. And it also makes it so people stick around a little bit more, because, you know, they actually can realistically start PVMing if they put in the time and not have to worry about, you know, well, I can't make enough money to get 96 herb lore to make overloads, and feel like they're stuck because they can't, you know, get the best potion in the game. I think that's a good thing, but the problem is, as I said, it should come a bit more from skilling. I think skilling should have 80% rates, and I think something like Stone Spirits is not the solution, because that just makes it so, sure, it helps Iron Man, a lot, and I know it's not introduced because of it, but on a main, you're not gonna just sit there and be like, oh, you know what, I got 400 gold Stone Spirits, I'm gonna mine 800 gold ore. No, you're just gonna have it sit in your bank, or just not do anything with it. Like, honestly, that's what the majority of players do. And that's what will happen if you do that with any other way of, you know, for example, woodcutting. If you get, like, stone spirits, or I guess it would be log spirits for woodcutting, people are not going to suddenly start woodcutting. And I might be wrong with that. Honestly, I genuinely might be completely wrong with that. But I don't think people will do it, because would you rather just cut a tree or PVM? And I think it would just make the logs more expensive, which you could say is a good thing. And I mean, logs are obviously not really an issue, because you really don't need logs for anything in the game. But think about it as herbs. Let's say we don't get herbs, but we get herb spirits and for farming, and you can only farm it. And I would see herbs going up to like 30, 40k again, because not everyone is doing farm runs every single day, and maybe increase the yields or whatever, but still, I don't think people would be doing it that much, and that is it. People are lazy. Like, I think people would rather PVM for something than skill for it, and if they add it to skilling for the select few that do enjoy it, it will go to a place again where they're really expensive and not accessible anymore to most people, and then just PVM. And I know it sounds really like I'm just saying like, oh yeah, PVM should be the way, but no, I just think you should just flat out increase the rates of skilling to like 80 or 90% of what you get from PVM. Whether that's increasing the speed that you got logs with, either, you know, make something like a reward from a quest or from a minigame or whatever that, you know, makes you cut logs at the speed of PVM, or do anything related to gathering, so you can compete with those rates that come in through bosses. But I don't think you should just implement it straight away. I think it should be an unlock because I think it's something good to work towards. And I think that way they can make skilling a bit more relevant again, but also not taking a hit on PVM and the amount of supplies coming into the game, and even more supplies will come into the game. So they could kind of balance future drop tables around it, because right now they kind of need to balance new PVM drop tables around the issue that's currently going on with whatever item. For example, cockatrice eggs and nightshades were really difficult to obtain and were really expensive, but they were very much in demand for certain potions, making those potions way more expensive than they were supposed to be. So they introduced them through Croesus, and that is exactly it. They are looking to fill up those drop tables because those items need a increase in, you know, flow in through the game. And I think that is something that they will not have to do much of if skilling would be a lot more relevant. But that's just my opinion. I feel like I repeated myself a lot in the video, but I just really try to get my point across when it comes to PVM and skilling, and very curious to see in the comment section down below what you guys think. Definitely go give it a like if you did enjoy the video. Subscribe if you're new. My name's Chevalric. See you guys in my next video.